Okay, so today we're basically going to tear up the first chapter of human history. We're about to dive into a discovery that just completely challenges our most fundamental ideas about where we come from and how civilization really began. Just think about this for a second. What if everything you've ever been taught about the dawn of society is, well, completely backwards? What if the spark for humanity's great leap forward wasn't some new tool, but a powerful, world-changing idea? For decades, the history books have told this really simple, comfortable story about our ancestors. It's a neat little timeline that, on the surface, makes perfect sense. So, the story we all learned goes something like this. First, we figured out how to farm. That gave us enough food so we could stop wandering and actually build settlements. Then, those settlements grew into complex societies. And only then, once we had food and shelter all sorted out, did we have the time and energy to build big temples and get organized religion going. And hey, it's logical, right? Well, that comfortable little story is about to get completely shattered. Because one single archaeological find doesn't just poke holes in this timeline, it blows it clean apart.
The place that changes everything is a site in southeastern Turkey, and it's called Göbekli Tepe.
Discovered back in 1994, Göbekli Tepe, which literally means potbelly hill, is, and this is official, the oldest man-made place of worship, the oldest massive structure ever found on planet Earth. Period. Now, to give you a sense of just how insane that is, Göbekli Tepe dates back to around 9600 BC. That makes it over 6,000 years older than Stonehenge, and 7,000 years older than the Great Pyramids. I mean, we are talking about a structure that is almost unbelievably ancient.
So, who on Earth built this architectural marvel at the very dawn of time? Well, the answer is where the neat, tidy story of civilization just completely falls apart. The people who built Göbekli Tepe, they weren't farmers. They were nomadic hunter-gatherers. Small bands of people wandering the landscape who, according to our books, shouldn't have been able to do anything like this. Let that sink in for a minute. They had not yet domesticated plants or animals. They had no reliable food source to feed a big, stationary workforce. The old timeline says they shouldn't have been building anything on this scale. It just doesn't make sense. And can you just imagine how hard this was? All of the quarrying, the carving, the construction, it was all done with Stone Age tech. We're talking about flint, maybe some obsidian, and just pure muscle. No metal, no wheels, no beasts of burden to help out. This, right here, is the paradox at the very heart of Göbekli Tepe. On one side, you have everything they supposedly lacked, and on the other, you have what they miraculously built. So, on one hand, you have a society with no farming, no cities, no metal tools, and not even permanent homes. And on the other hand, you have them building a massive ceremonial center with these incredible, intricately carved stone pillars weighing up to 20 tons, all arranged in these complex circles. It's a contradiction that just shouldn't exist. And all of this leads to this one profound, almost chilling question. Why on earth would people who were constantly on the move, just following the seasons, put in such unbelievable effort to build a cathedral before they even built houses for themselves? The very existence of Göbekli Tepe forces us to think about a totally radical new theory. It suggests that maybe we need to take that comfortable story of history and just flip it completely on its head. So here it is, the big idea. What if organized religion actually came first? What if the burning desire to gather for shared rituals was the very thing that sparked the agricultural revolution and not the other way around? This new timeline changes everything. It starts with a powerful shared belief system that brings these scattered hunter-gatherers together. But to feed all the people gathering at a huge site like Göbekli Tepe, you'd need a ton of food, right? That immense pressure for a steady food source could have led directly to the invention of farming. And from there, well, that's when civilization as we know it really kicks off. To put it another way, maybe civilization didn't start because we got smart and figured out how to grow stuff. Maybe it started because we first needed something to believe in, together. The community of faith created the need for the farm. But the mystery of Göbekli Tepe doesn't stop with how it was built. Honestly, one of the most baffling parts of this whole story is how it ended. So, after being this central hub for generations, around 8000 BCE, the creators of this place did something extraordinary. They carefully, deliberately, and completely buried their own temple under thousands and thousands of tons of dirt, hiding it from the world for the next 10,000 years. It wasn't destroyed, it was entombed.
And what is just absolutely mind-boggling is how little we actually know. Archaeologists have used ground-penetrating radar, and they've confirmed that what we can see today, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Over 90% of this massive complex is still buried underground, just waiting, holding its secret.
So what does all this teach us? It tells us that human history isn't some neat, straight line of progress. It's a much more mysterious story, and it's shaped by ideas, by myth, by our search for meaning. It shows us that long before we ever built cities or wrote things down or crowned kings, we gathered together and told stories. And those stories were powerful enough to literally reshape the planet. This ancient temple, built by people with nothing but their beliefs and their bare hands, it suggests that stories may have quite literally built the world we all live in today. And that kind of leaves us with one final thought to chew on. What are the stories that built you?